today, when you say open relationships or non-monogamous relationships or periodically non-monogamous or monogamish a la Dan Savage or, or polyamorous, people will say, can't work, impossible, The fact is monogamy is the new frontier. But you can have it as negotiated through divorce or through what most people have always done, which is proclaimed monogamy and clandestine adultery. Or you can do it through a model of transparency in which people have consensual non-monogamy. This is it. This is the options.
Right. What do you think is going to be working the most
There's
for people?
There's going to be a little bit of everything. There are some people who really need stable, committed, monogamous relationships. They don't want open doors. And there are other people for which open doors probably should be the model from the start. That's kind of who they are. That's their curiosity. That's the way they live their life. And it's not because they're less committed or less loving. It's because their sexuality is organized in a certain way and it lives together with a certain arrangement. And all of that is going to be redefined as we go along. It's de facto what's going to happen. It will be the next frontier. But if you see it on the level of marriage, people say, if you say, okay, let's look on the, you have to look at it from the place of before marriage. A Swedish philosopher said, today, monogamy only exists in reality. It doesn't exist in your memories, and it doesn't exist in your fantasies. So, this is not because I advocate it. It's just, first of all, there's nothing to advocate. It's very simple that by definition we have multiple sex partners before marriage. We are not monogamous anymore in the traditional sense of the word. The word has been in flux and we don't really know where it's going. We don't. What we know is that people still seek to connect. People want to love. People want somebody who loves them. And how that will play itself out is the mysteries of life. But the fundamental human need for love, for connection, for passion, for transcendence will never change. The expressions, the forms, the institutions in which we will seek those fundamental human aspirations will continuously transform. That's really how I see the evolution taking place.
Sure.
What do you think of what I'm saying?
Oh, man, it's just so, it's confusing because you hear so many different options that work, that don't work. You see people that love each other that go through breakup and divorce. And then you see the pain and the struggle and the emotional toll that it takes on some people. Then you see people who are in, committed monogamous relationships who feel guilty because they want to be able to explore, but they can't because they've made this choice and they've committed to it.
Monogamy is a practice. We are not by nature, biologically, evolutionary monogamous. It's a practice. It's a choice. And it's a choice.
Not our makeup.
No.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. And monogamy is a continuum. You have mind, you have fantasy, you have memory, you have a lot of things. At what point do we become non-monogamous? Where does non-monogamy start? And all of these concepts are fluid concepts today. There is just no way to define it like that.
Right.
So we make choices. And we make compromises, and we sometimes don't just do what we want. And we often need to think about the consequences of our actions. And we need to think about the larger picture, and something that may be perfectly desirable for tonight may not be worth it for the next weeks and the next years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that in the era of self-fulfillment and the right to happiness, we don't have more desires today than the previous generations. We just feel more entitled to fulfill our desires. And we feel that we have a right to be happy. My personal happiness. The greatest switch is from a social organization in which I think about the well-being of others. Collectivist thinking thinks about the well-being of others, and I sacrifice my own individual needs for the well-being of others. To the other side of the continuum is I have a right to pursue my individual needs, and the others will have to adapt to it. And I think that we are a little bit on the extreme end of the other side at this point. We really take ourselves a little very seriously. And sometimes at the detriment of other people to whom we do have an obligation and a commitment to. Not just our partners.
Right.
Of
The world.
The world.
So where
the
should we
world.
be? Somewhere in the middle, you think? Or what's...
In an examined state. I don't know that it's always in the middle,
Right.
but in an examined state. In a state that doesn't just say what I like, what I feel. The fact that I have options doesn't mean I have to exercise all these options. The problem of consumer life is that we don't know anymore to make choices. Same with the cereals in the supermarket. Why would it be
Right.
better with love? So I could get better. I'm like, I'm a victim of FOMO. How do I know this is the best? No, you don't.
Yeah.
When do I find the best? No, you don't. You don't find your partner. You choose your partner. It's very different. If you think you're going to find somebody who is the person who's going to make you stop looking, it doesn't work this way. Because
Really?
no, it doesn't. Because at some point your inner rumblings will start up again, and then you will say, "Oh, probably
Start
it's not."
looking.
It's like you just say, "This is it. This is where I decide to put my roots in this moment." And I'm gonna try to deepen them. I think we are all living with paradoxes of choice.
Yes.
From which phone I get, but we cannot commodify a partner and just kind of beta test the partner and beta test the relationship and check out to see, is it good enough, or can I find better? Yes, you can. The fact is, you could find other. I'm not sure it would be better, but you definitely can find other.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people you can love, and there's only a few you can make a life with. And they're not always the same. There are a lot of people you can have love stories with.
Right.
And have beauty, but they're not the person you would make a life with.
How do you know when it's the person you can make a life with?
I think values enter into there a lot more. I mean, you can have magnificent love stories with people you would never live with.
Right.
They're just too different from you. They have not the same values as you. They have not. One wants a child, one does not. One wants to travel, the other does not. One wants career, the other. Very major, different classes, different Weltanschauung, as they used to say in German. Visions of the world. But
Yes.
you can love them.
Yes.
You can have a beautiful love story with that person and be transported in your experience with them. But you know that that's not the person with whom you're going to build a home, a future, a trajectory, maybe a family if you want that. That's not the person with whom. And for that, you need more of shared vision, shared mission, shared values, stuff that is not just in the domain of feelings, but also in the domain of beliefs. It's different.
Wow.
Views about money, views about independence and separateness versus connection, views about emotional expressiveness, views about power.
Wouldn't you say that those differences that we have also attract us to other people? That we have some of those differences? Maybe we don't share the same values or beliefs, but it's also different, unique, interesting, and so it also brings us together? Or do you think it's not enough?
I think that what attracts you originally is often what becomes the source of conflict later. The very thing that is so attractive because it's different is also the very thing that becomes difficult because it's different.
Interesting.
So, of course, it's a mix and match,
Yeah.
But what makes thriving relationships is not only feelings. It's a mix of feelings, actions, beliefs, touches, physicality.
Right.
It's a more all-encompassing thing.
Sure.
A beautiful love story can be just about feelings. And you can love more people than those that you can make a life with. That doesn't mean you make a life with people you don't love, but it means that there is a whole other set of ingredients
Right.
that enter into the making of a life, which is the creation of a world. It's a little different. And in that world, you often can be on the side of, there's a lot of sentences today that I never heard 20 years ago in couples therapy. This is a raw deal. I'm not getting my needs met. Where is my return on investment?
Wow.
Excuse me, somebody owes you? It's like, wow, it's I am in a relationship for what it's going to give me. That is an important piece. Don't misunderstand me. But I'm also in a relationship for what I'm going to give to this person.
Right.
For what I'm going to give, if I want children, to these children. Not just for what they're going to bring to me. It's like the level of narcissism has to be shrunken a tiny bit on occasion.
Right, exactly.
It's just like, I mean, I'm part of that same, landscape. But on occasion, I think it's like you calibrate it. On occasion, some of us need to really learn to think more about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us really need to think more about others.
Right.
Some of us live with the fear that we're going to be abandoned. And some of us live more with the fear that we're going to lose ourselves. Some of us are better takers and need to learn to give. And some of us are consummate givers and we need to learn to take. And often we find a partner who is exactly the missing link. And that can be beautiful complementarity if we actually get to use the other person to become more whole and to learn from them. And and we need both. You need to be able to think about yourself and to know what you want and all of that. But you also need to be able to remember that others exist near you,
right.
Your family, your friends, your loved ones.
Sure.
And that's what will make the difference the day you die and who will show up at your funeral, basically.
I love this conversation. I have 4 questions for you left.
Yes.
I feel like I could ask a lot more, and I want everyone to make sure they pick up the book.